the air temperature.
This is so cool.
Yep. So you can see behind you, the reason we got to stay together, there's all there is a little rope. And take all the pictures you want. There's only a little rope separating you from what we call the hot ramp. Now this is a Choctaw. This is by Sikorsky Manufacturing, and this is a late 1950s, 1960s helicopter. And a unique thing about this helicopter is the engine for this helicopter is behind these clamshell doors. And we'll show you a Huey and show you where the engine is on that aircraft. This is the 4th aircraft off the Sikorsky production line for the U.S. Navy. And they used it for a SAR, S-A-R, that's a search and rescue aircraft. This is the hoist that normally have a harness on it. If you were in trouble, they'd lower it, and it has 300 foot of cable. You'd put the belt on, they'd swing you back up, and then this pivots and puts you in the cabin. This is a well-liked heavy lift helicopter. The British licensed it from Sikorsky. They call it the Wessex. The French licensed it from Sikorsky, and they still call it the Choctaw. If you watch science fiction movies from the 60s, like the original Godzilla, you always see them eating this type of aircraft. Now, they retired them in the 60s, and this was used, what they used to call the free world, or the West, the non-communist countries. So most of the countries throughout the world ended up using this aircraft. They retired them. Now, if you go over to Waco, Texas, there's a private contractor that has 4 of these. And so like Lindale, about a year or so ago, built a new middle school. It was raining like we had this spring, and they couldn't get a crane in to lift the heating and air conditioning units on top of the building. So they flew one of these in, they grabbed those heating and air conditioning units, put them on top of the building, and they were gone in 20 minutes. My wife and I have been in Dallas, in North Dallas, where they have tall buildings, and we've seen their helicopters actually doing the same thing, grabbing the old ones, lifting them to the ground, grabbing the new ones, putting them back on top of the building. So they're still being used. And if you watch the Discovery Channel, they've got a show called Northwest Logging, or Logging in the Northwest, something like that. You'll see these pop up every once in a while for heavy lift. And don't be afraid to ask any questions. This here is T-37, a Cessna T-37, a Cessna out of Wichita, Kansas. If you would have gone through pilot training about 18 years ago, this is the aircraft that you would have learned to fly in the U.S. Air Force. This would have been your first aircraft that you flew jets in. Very rugged airplane, it's well lined. Your student on the left, your instructor be on the right. And so most of our docents here that were pilots in the Air Force ended up flying in this aircraft. This is your pitot tube. All operational aircraft have a pitot tube. Even if it's a glider, that's your most important instrument on an aircraft, because if you don't fly fast enough, you stall. If you fly too fast, your wings come off. So that's why you need to know how fast you're going. This aircraft you'll find in civilian hands here and there. If you came to our air show July 2nd, there was one here. The government will not sell you military aircraft. So how does civilians with a lot of money get aircraft?
Black market.
Well, we wouldn't call it the black market, but they sold a lot of these aircraft to countries in South America. So when they upgrade their airplanes, if you got cash, they'll sell them to you. So that's how they get here. Even a lot of the Mustangs and the F-4U Corsairs, where they've gotten from them from the Dominican Republic, from Haiti, and other countries such as that.
You said this was a
G-37.
T-37.
No, that's okay. And if you look, the last pilot, this was Mason Shepard on this side. The last pilot was a lady pilot. You know, the Air Force needs about 2,000 pilots right now. And all they care about is, are you a citizen? Do you meet the physical requirements, the educational requirements? And you can be a pilot in the U.S. Air Force.
They just had over there.
They just had a jet land.
So he'll probably come over here and park. So now you understand. You see the ground person directly in front of me? He's going to direct him where to park.
Oh, I can feel that.
What were they replaced with?
And what's interesting, they have composite wings and everything, but you can leave these out in the hailstorm. I mean, they're
Not
solid.
have to worry about it.
But
You
the
videoing?
composite aircraft,
Maybe.
they're real strong to stress. But if you throw a rock at it, it'll crack it.
It's like a bass boat, huh?
Yeah. So there's pluses and minuses on this stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I don't know how much, do you know about how airports operate? Does everybody, you've gone through that with them? Okay.
Very little.
Up behind you is the control tower. And just spend 2 minutes on that. You know, when you're driving down the highway and you come to a stop sign or a stoplight, then you wait for the green or yellow and the red. Well, at an airport, if you're a pilot, you hop in your airplane, you just can't start taxiing. So here, you get your weather information, and then you'd say, this is November 952 with weather information, ready to taxi. So then they will tell you what runway to taxi to. Then you taxi out to the runway and you stop short. You're still on the taxiway. Then you'll go through your checklist, and then you call the tower and you tell them November 952 ready for takeoff. Then they, at that time, only that time, you can taxi out on the runway and take off, because they want to make sure that no one else is on approach. Now, this aircraft here is a T-33. If remember, we talked about the first combat jet the U.S. had was the P-80. This looks like a P-80, except for the wingtip tank, and it's a two-seater. So once we got jets in 1945, most people don't realize we actually had jets in 1945. They always talk about the German jets, but if necessary, we could have fielded the P-80s. In fact, there are a couple did get over to Europe before the end of World War II. So we quickly figured out, like the rest of the world, is to train a jet pilot, you need a jet trainer. You can't be jumping from propellers to a jet release. So Lockheed went ahead and put two seats in this, and they made over 6,000 of this. And if you would have gone through pilot training in the real late 40s or the 50s,